We have Apple stopping up to bat today for a stock review with my Abundantly Erica stock picking method. Okay, so Apple. I mean, this is the previous king of the stock market until Nvidia took its crown this year. So, and we are currently in 2024 at September 10th. So that is important to say when we're looking at these charts to give you some frame of reference as to where we are at. So the first thing that we have to do with my stock picking system, just to remind you, is understand what Apple is and decide if it's an industry dominator, a monopoly, or if it's on trend. And it's really great if it's all three. And it is all three. This is a stock that is a monopoly. Okay, there are so many things that Apple does. It's ridiculous, right? Like many of us, have their phones, have their computers, have their AirPods, have to pay monthly subscriptions to help if our phone gets damaged. We pay them insurance every month. We pay them iCloud storage. We might have Apple TV. There was at one point in time Apple Banking, which they took away. But I mean, Apple is continuously figuring out ways for you to continue to be an Apple customer and for it to keep milking money from you every month. And I love it, but I hate it, and I love it. Okay, so I'm definitely an Apple user. Once you get into their environment, it's very hard to leave it. They kind of like get you hooked on that. I mean, we also have like an Apple router in my house. I mean, everything is Apple. There was even a point where they were thinking about making a car. They backed off of that. But they're always innovating and always trying to figure out the next thing. I know that they had a recent sort of like flop with their Apple Vision Pro, but I do think that that's probably, like they'll come up with something else. They always do. Okay, so that's Apple. So is it on trend? Yes. Are they innovating in the most imaginative ways right now? No. I mean, no, but they're still have some very, very, very intelligent people that work there. Their board of directors is great. Their CEO definitely knows what he's doing, and I wouldn't bet against them. Let's put it that way. I did used to options trade this stock a lot, but last year it went through just like a point in time where the stock was just stalled for like a year, and so there wasn't much premium and much money for me to get out of this stock from an options trading perspective then. But since then, the stock has really bounced back since the spring, and it's doing really well. And it's continuing to rise now. We're going to talk in a minute about why that is, because it's really important for everybody to know. But first, let's just go back to my system. So we definitely understand who Apple is, right? Like, we're all familiar with them. They have very sleek looking stores all around the United States, and they're definitely delivering products to your front door overnight that you want to use to stay in touch with all the latest tech out there. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the 5-year, 1-year, and 3-month charts and make sure that those are all up. And they're going to be, because it's Apple. All right, so let's go look. 5-year chart, 311%. There are times when Apple can do this thing where it just seems like it's going nowhere, and you can like get a little frustrated, but there's always this breakout that happens. I've studied this stock for so long, and you just can't argue with 311% in 5 years. That means like 5 years ago, if you had just bought these shares, you would have tripled your money, like more than. Okay, so there's nobody that can be disappointed with that. The 1-year chart is up 23%. Again, amazing. 3-month chart is up as well, 11%. So almost 12. One of the things that we are doing right now is we're coming out of a season where we just went through August, and August had this natural pullback, and I'm evaluating the stock in September. And September is a rocky time on the stock market. Like, stocks tend to pull back a lot, and we have had some pullbacks, and Apple hasn't pulled back that hard. Okay, so it was at 234 as an all-time high, and now it's down to 220. That's not much of a big move down. There are other stocks that are hurting far worse right now, and the reason that Apple's not is because, again, if it's not the king of the stock market, it's a prince. Okay, it's the son of the king or something, because it's still a very powerful stock, and there's still tons of people that want to hold this, tons of people that believe in the company, and institutions definitely believe in this stock. So we're going to go pop over and just answer that question. Are the charts up? Yes, they are. So we get all clear there, and we get 3 check marks: 5 year, 1 year, and 3 month. All good. Then the next thing is, let's look at the revenue and gross profit on the financial statements year over year. Remember that the reason that we are doing this is we are trying to see, does this company know how to keep collecting more and more money from the consumer and from businesses? Okay. Yeah, they do. Okay. So let's look. 274, 365, 395, 383. We had a bit of a break right here. And then 385. All right. So looks like they had a little bit of difficulty in 2023. And if you'll notice, right? What did I say happened then? I said that the stock stalled out for a year. Okay? It did. Why did that happen? Because of this right here. Because there were, if you wanted to be a really good investor and you're watching your Apple stock just like the institutional traders were, you would have looked at the quarterly basis and seen that some of the quarters weren't looking so good. And that would have made you sell off shares if you were an institution. And that's why that is like that, okay? So these numbers matter. This is what I'm trying to show you. These numbers matter. And how do you know that? Because the stock stalled out for a year because that number went down. Okay, that's how important it is to look at these numbers. That's why I'm bringing them to your attention. Because even if you hadn't paid attention to them before, you can believe that every institutional trader that makes the decision on whether this stock price goes up or down looks at these numbers. And if you just see what they're seeing, then you can do the same things that they do. All right. Gross profit, 104, 152, 170, 169. Okay, so interesting, right? This number went down on revenue quite a bit, but they were able to keep a lot more of their money. That's really interesting. Okay, and then this year looks like we're all clear. We're moving straight ahead. Everything is looking really good. So Apple had this moment where they weren't doing as well. And that is based on their earnings and revenue. And I happen to know that it's probably based on this little like trade war we had going on with China last year, because Chinese government officials wanted to retaliate the Biden administration, because the Biden administration said they were no longer going to send to China any of our AI chips that sort of like NVIDIA and AMD were making at the time. And so China retaliated by saying to them, to the United States of America, well, we're not going to let Apple be our phone carrier anymore for our government. And we're going to make it really hard to get Apple products here. And so that hurt Apple. Okay, their iPhone sales went way down. And that's what happened there. But this is sort of like a glitch. China still has this policy, I believe, but Apple's find a way to work around that and find other profit streams other places. And that's the interesting thing about a monopoly or somebody that has an industry dominance that they can do. They can just sort of develop a new product or good or service that they can sell to other people, and they automatically, if it's valuable, have a huge buy-in from the community because the community already knows and trusts them, and it's integrated already into their ecosystem. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to say here is, because I know the backstory on this Apple thing with China, it doesn't really bother me that this is down a little bit because the company has already recovered. And what am I going to tell you guys next? This is going to be something that I only know because I read the news every day about stocks, okay? I'm going to tell you this. The reason why Apple is going up as a stock in this last year is not because they innovated anything new. It is because they had announced in the summertime that they were going to spend billions and billions of dollars on stock buybacks for their company. So, in other words, they're saying, hey, we have stock out there and we want to own our stock as a company, so we're going to buy some of our stock back. And what does that do to the stock? It rises the price. It raises it up. The stock price rises because the stock has this new buyer, and it's the corporation itself, which seems wild, but stock buybacks are huge for stocks. Like, it's huge for shareholders when a stock says they're going to buy back their shares, because you're going to get in 3 months, you're going to have quite the raise on your share price. That is just the way that works. all other things being neutral in the market, which isn't always the case. But again, we're seeing here that, when did they announce this? Stock buyback program? In July, end of July, okay? What do we see happen to the stock price? It's continuing to go up during a pullback. That's because Apple is buying more shares. They're going to continue to buy shares in September 2024. So just keep in mind that stock buybacks are huge. I can't like how to drive home that point enough. Stock buybacks are huge for shareholders. There are some people that argue that stock buybacks mean the company is out of ideas. And I don't agree with that at all. I think that stock buybacks are huge because the company has so much cash on hand, because they've made so much profit from their customer base so far, and they're very confident about where they're headed in the future, that they're like, we will part with this cash and we will buy more shares. It's huge to have cash on hand as a corporation. Not all corporations have that. Some corporations have to borrow. Not Apple. Apple has plenty of cash, and they've chosen to use their cash to buy back shares because they believe those shares will be more valuable in the future because of their innovations and because of the client base they have, and they're willing to take you along as the shareholders and let you benefit from that as well. So this makes me happy as a shareholder, and I'm totally digging it. Okay, so I went on a huge lecture there, but I felt like that was important. Okay. Do institutions love this stock? Yes. They love it. The reason this has been the best, one of the best stocks on the market, king of the stock market, is because institutions know what Apple is. And they know it's a monopoly. And they know those charts are always up. And they know the gross revenue and profit are something that they can rely on. They don't have to babysit all the time. And they know that the CEO is responsible and the board of directors makes really good decisions. And they know it's a huge global brand. So yes, institutions love this stock. And does it pay a dividend? It does pay a dividend. And they keep increasing the dividend, which is even better, right? So this dividend has increased multiple times since I have owned it and since I've been trading it. They oftentimes even award a special dividend. A lot of times that's right after the Christmas holiday, sort of in January time, as they might say, hey, we're paying shareholders an extra $5 a share. That's happened many times in Apple's history. You won't be mad if it happens to you. All right. So is Apple a buy for my portfolio? Yes. It is also for me, like now a stock that I would love to trade more with options, because the volatility has come back into that stock and there is room for growth with these buybacks. So this is for me definitely something that I hold in my portfolio. I want to continue to buy and I want to options trade with.